Welcome back to Best Practices. I'm Michaela Guarniello. Today we will be talking about numerical patterns in third grade. Here we have a funny little picture to start us off. When I learned about numerical patterns when I was in school, I realized I never forgot how to count to 10 because I realized that 7, 8, 9. We're going to take a quick glance at the benchmarks that come with numerical patterns. Students will determine and explain whether a whole number from 1 to 1,000 is even or odd. Identify, create, and extend numerical patterns. For example, looking at the pattern 4, 8, 12, 16, and understanding that the pattern there is adding 4 each time, which then following, we will have students determine if whole numbers from 1 to 144 is a multiple of a given one-digit number. For example, is 35 a multiple of 5? Yes, because if we count by 5 7 times, they will get 35, or 5 times 7 is 35. This unit is full of great rich content for students to explore with. You can see in the first video, with even and odd numbers, a student can create a number using 10 rods and unit cubes, and then see if they're able to equally distribute the number into 2 equal groups, determining if it's even or odd. Next, with addition and subtraction patterns, here we have an example of where if we add the same number over and over, a child can make the connection that there is a pattern of the number growing the same amount each time. With that background knowledge and support, the students will be able to then explore and understand what multiples are. As you can see in the video, the child is making arrays, the first one representing 3 times 1, then 3 times 2 is 6, and so on. Then they'll be able to eventually identify multiples of 3. Our final video, you see here, when we move into multiplication and division patterns, students will be able to more quickly identify the multiples or use strategies to help them identify that using the previous knowledge we just went over. If we look at the MTRs, we're hitting 3, 5, and 6. Students are completing tasks with mathematical fluency. That would be in our last phase of this unit. MTR 5, they use patterns and structure. I would confidently say the majority of this unit is based heavily on patterns. And finally, 6, assess the reasonableness of solutions. This is supported with lots of manipulative tools and hands-on activities. To check in with your students on their student learning and discussions, you can ask different types of questions. Here we have an example of determining whether numbers are even or odd. Look at the one place for your even numbers. What do you notice? An example could be a child looking at the number 362 and determining that the 2 is in the ones place, and if they know that 2 can be split into 2 equal groups evenly, they will be able to come to the conclusion and determine that 362 is an even number. Our next question: how can multiplication be used to determine a multiple in a number pattern? Here we have an example of complete the pattern, and they have the number 7 at the beginning of the pattern and the rest are blank. Looking at that, they can understand that, well, I'm looking at multiples of 7. Let's say if a child knows 7 times 5 is 35, they would be able to understand that the last number in the pattern should be 35 since there are 4 spaces following the 7. Some of the vocabulary students will be exposed to and expected to know might be familiar from previous grade levels, but a lot of it is new as well. We have even numbers, extend, multiple, this will be a big new one for them, numerical pattern, odd numbers, and relationship. Students are going to demonstrate their knowledge through a variety of different exit tickets, journals, and etc. I really like this odd or even activity. Students are understanding that each game has a number of team members, and then they have to provide a model to show how many are going to be in each team, and if it's an even or odd number. If the number can be split evenly, they can determine that it is even. If not, it's going to be odd if some are left out. Our next example of an exit ticket, this is showing the addition and subtraction patterns. A word problem is posed, and then they answer questions to understand what is happening, how much money the child is earning each week. Here we have an example of multiples. This is similar to the video where the child is creating arrays, obviously using drawings and models, but you could also use snap cubes to support with this. And they have to find the multiples and insert the actual multiples of 3, and then understand if the multiples support the word problem there. Finally, here we just have a simple fill in the blanks, and then they're finding a way to support how they figured out their multiples for each number. We want to ensure we are frequently asking questions to students as we progress in the unit to make sure they're understanding these concepts. I really like to use these types of questions with students and each other. You can put these on question cards or even just have them have a menu of questions that they can ask during discussions in small group or their rotations or with their partners. These questions are geared more toward the odd and even number. This will really be important to ensure students understand the odd and even, because these patterns and these foundational concepts will support them with the later concepts of determining multiples. There are lots of ways to have engaging tasks and activities at home for your child to practice multiples. Here we have think of it as a discovery game of multiples. The game is multiple multiples, and you will start with one number and asking your student or child if a product is a multiple of a specific factor, and then kind of think of it as levels where they move up every time you go to the next factor. This can go on from number 0 to 12, and super easy to do at home. That is it for today. Thank you for joining me. I'll leave you with this punny fish to end our time together. See you next time for best practices.